Well, good afternoon, Scott Baker.
Mikey, how are you? Strong interpersonal connections in the workplace, which sounds like an HR seminar topic, but we're going to make it so much more interesting.
Yeah, because it's really about having a best friend, like more than anything. It's like having that one best friend. The Gallup poll that they did in 2024 that made the headlines was the one that asked specifically about having a single best friend at work. Like, do you have, and then based on, I think they tracked that since 2019, and the sustainability of like all of the benefits that came from having a single best friend at work were sustained throughout the pandemic and the work from home years and everything like that. And organizations that had people who had a large number of people who had a best friend at work had all the benefits that are mentioned here in our field note as well, right? The fact that higher engagement, whether or not they are going to stick around for longer, whether or not they have a propensity to look for another job, all of the benefits that you would expect from, higher engaged employees and satisfied employees came with a giant overlap of having a best friend.
Are you supposed to take your best friend to like a Coldplay concert if that's your work best friend? There could be some downsides to this. Couldn't there be?
I took my best friend to a Green Day concert. I'm not sure if it has the same kind of effect.
Yeah, but that was the only concert you've ever been to.
Yes, it was.
Which is true. It's just a whole other topic. But right. Okay, so here on Lead Better, we kind of dive in onto the field note of the day. And this is the field note of the day. And so this idea of this Gallup study around the nature of this, the leadership impetus here is, okay, great. If people have friends and they feel connected at work, then terrific. Well, what do leaders do to actually turbo that process?
Yes.
I don't think we want to make it feel like it's like totally orchestrated, right? There has to be something organic about it, or we're all just living in a simulation.
But but the best leaders really do want to prime that pump, though, right? And so, and whether it's a simulation or not, we still have the psychic ease in our brains when we actually have something that feels like we have a best friend.
Now, so before we go into what the leadership recommendations are, I guess in some ways are we kind of saying that work is very similar to, I don't know, elementary school or middle school? Like, kids will go to school. It's not necessarily that they're excited about the work. They're excited about seeing their friends.
Yes.
So same principle. Does anything change when you grow up?
It shouldn't, but unfortunately it does, because the research also, just not even studying it in the workplace, but especially men our age, the drop off of people who say they have at least what they would call at least one close friend has dropped off significantly in the last. I think it may have been accelerated a little bit by COVID, but the drop off was happening even before that. There is something happening with friendship in the United States, especially where men our age just don't have friends the way that they used to.
I don't see that it's actually necessary, because I have people that follow me on X, and we have 90,000 people that subscribe to us on Substack. Well, they're like friends, aren't they?
Right, but that's
not good enough. Is that what you're saying?
Your invitation to a Coldplay concert, if you just throw it out on Twitter, how many would actually say yes?
Again, now I was making a joke, but there is a bit of an issue there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like if we are overemphasizing this idea of friendships at work, particularly with, again, the advice of this field note, that leaders should be thinking about sending people away to work events in teams or triads, right? Where we're going to have people, bonded together in order to deepen their relationships. I'm just saying that things can also get messy.
Sure.
How do you control for that Mikey?
I don't think you do. I don't think you do control for it. I think that you know that the numbers say I might as well prime the pump in some way, and so you do it. Whether or not it actually causes, a few relationships to go sideways, the benefits totally outweigh that. That you're going to get some people, and I think a lot of it is there's people out there who are looking for friendships, but they don't know how to actually land them. Right? My son moved to Hawaii recently.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know anybody there, and was trying to figure out how do I make friends. Like, he's just a recent college grad, was trying to figure out how do I actually. So he had a work colleague that he got along with, she and her husband, but they just didn't quite click. And so, I guess there's also something to the idea of wanting to be able to do it on your own terms. And so the work colleague thing really didn't work out for him, but they didn't have any trips to go on in that way. So he pulled up Bumble, which is primarily a dating app.
Right.
But Bumble has a BFF section where
you can actually do it
there,
to just find a friend.
And you swipe left and swipe right on people, but you're doing it for the idea of finding, and they call it Bumble BFF. My guess is that Hinge and maybe even Tinder have some of these same sections of their site. But my son found a really great friend using Bumble BFF, and it's been it was a fantastic experiment for him. And for him in Hawaii, he felt like he only needed one friend, and then he was set. So it's not like he was doing it over and over. Yeah, right. And but it's exactly what he needed. But in terms of, his psychic need for at least one good friend was really important to him. So he thought of Hawaii, this island that he's living on, as his work destination, even though it's much more than that, but it's just where he works. So even though he didn't find his one friend at work, he found, in his mind, the way that it worked is, I just need one good friend, and then his life satisfaction went through the roof after that. It was really important to him, and that's the way
by the way, before I get into the list from the field note on this, plenty of high ground on the island of Hawaii. So he was like, there was no need to flee from any potential tsunami at that point.
He lives about there's a big hill that he lives on the side of. So there was some concern for the first couple hours, but by the time it got to him in the last couple, they knew it was just going to be a small wave.
Well, okay, so let's go back. And despite some of my cynicism about the potential side effects that could happen here, the benefits are actually fairly significant. Now, you actually would hope that in the same way that if kids enjoy their friends at school, that then they actually start to learn, or they work in teams, or they get competitive with people, and this improves their academics. That when they have studied people that have good friendships at work, the list is pretty significant, because you get higher engagement. Academic research consistently demonstrates strong interpersonal connections in the workplace increase job satisfaction, career advancement, resilience when facing adversity, innovation and creative problem solving, information sharing, organizational commitment, you would hope for that, and then just overall productivity, which seems like the umbrella for all of that. So as the field note says, pretty good list.
Yes, right. And so if your organization is looking to increase any of those things, which many organizations are, I don't think it's far-fetched to say, okay, the first thing that you should do is to create some opportunities for people to just be social with each other, right? And the expense is probably well worth it. So in our organization, even though most of us are remote and we're scattered, we still have events, half of which are virtual, where they're after hours, but our firm kind of takes care of the expense of it, and we do all kinds of fun little stuff. Learning to cook, sometimes they feel very arts and craftsy, but that's not really the point of them. The point of them is that the relationships that are built, it's a valuable opportunity for people to connect.
Well, and obviously people will connect in social events, and if you send people to a conference, and the field note does say dyads and triads. So sometimes maybe if you have some concerns, you can send 3 people or 4 people, and you're spreading some of the value and the risk. But one of the things that we know is that when people are sometimes engaged, I don't think you can do this in a contrived way. It's not like, oh, we're all going to go on a hike. but people that do difficult things together then do end up kind of in a community of shared suffering of sorts. I wonder how much of that is helpful for leaders to think about when they're trying to kind of prime the pump on these work friendships.
So I think what you're saying is, negative cohorts will form. And do you want to make it easier for those negative cohorts to form while you're intentionally trying to make positive cohorts?
I don't think I'm saying about the negative cohorts. I'm saying, I was using it just from my own view from the fitness cult that I'm in, where you're doing very intense, hard workouts with people. And you come to know those people better than people in your own family or people in your church, because you've gone through something extraordinarily difficult on a regular basis. And in that community of shared suffering, real bonds are formed that wouldn't be the same as if you just, all belong to the same, bird watching club. Not that people in bird watching clubs aren't friends.
I'm distracted with how easily you just referred to CrossFit as your fitness cult, right? You used the word cult there very easily.
Well, yeah, but I was doing that just to say we're all in a cult of some kind, right? You're in a Lego cult.
Yes, right, exactly. And so allowing people to find their people inside of their organization, I suppose some people might think it's manipulative, but I think it's a great service, especially in a society where people find it increasingly difficult to make friends. For our organizations to help facilitate that is a great thing. So my daughter, who's also looking, she doesn't like the dating apps, but she does like the idea of meeting people organically, and she doesn't really want to meet guys in a bar, right? She has gone on a couple of these group dating outings, which I think for a long time would have been facilitated by like church singles groups or church youth groups, right? But she'll show up to like 30 people are all going to be showing up to a skating rink or whatever. And it's a group date. So there's not a pressure of one-on-one. And if you want to like put yourself out there and everyone's kind of there for the same reason. If her place of employment did that, right? Where she, number one, she would really appreciate it because maybe she wouldn't be paying for it because her boss would be footing the bill on the skating outing or whatever. But people are already looking for these kinds of outings for connection, right? And so I think it's a great opportunity for organizations to take advantage of it because these type of group dating outings they'll continue to increase. It'll feel like you're ahead of the curve if you get on this early and provide that opportunity for your employees.
Well, okay, so let's get to the last stage of this. Let's say you are the leader. You are going to prime the pump. You're going to say, the more that I can make people feel connected at work, the better off their productivity, all the things that we listed. And they might stick around, like some not having to go hunt for talent all the time. So you do put some thought, some structure into how to do this. I can't conceive of then how you check up on this. I think you have to sort of then release it. Right. It's not like you can, when they come back from the conference or from the trip to see the clients in South America, that you're like, hey, how are you guys getting along? Did you share some real vulnerable stories with each other? Like that's not going to work at all. Correct.
Right. Yeah. So I wonder if the people who are bent towards this are going to find their best friend at work anyway. So the people that you're kind of facilitating this for, is it extra people or are you just fast tracking that friendship that would have happened? Right.
Yep.
And then the nature of those friendships, to your point, it's going to run its course because everyone kind of has a tendency to like allow reciprocal relationships to build at their own pace. But there is something said to it, right? Do you remember as a kid going away to a week of camp and it felt like this microcosm of a week where it felt like you just experienced months of a relationship in a 5-day camping experience. So you fast tracking that as an employee, as an employer, is something that you can do. And I think that's really where the advantage is get people connected. So it's probably something great to do for your orientation class, right?
Yeah,
People who are
right.
brand new to a job, get them plugged into these kinds of social opportunities faster than anything.
Well, I try to look at the comments on the field notes. I did not get to that today on this one, but you could all go back to today's edition of field notes and look at this. And if you had some great examples of things you've done to facilitate friendships, or if you have any great stories of where it really went terribly, you could put those in there, and we'd all really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Well, terrific, Mikey. And then we'll talk again tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye now.